It was 7 a.m. when I slammed on the brakes. Snowflakes still floated sideways in the dim Milwaukee morning, the kind that stuck to your windshield and turned the world into static. My coffee spilled, the papers in my passenger seat flew, but none of that mattered, not when I saw what I saw. Right across from the school bus stop, in the middle of the sidewalk, sat a German Shepherd puppy. Not wandering, not shivering, sitting, still, waiting. Her fur was soaked, clumped in wet ridges around her sides like she'd been out there for hours. A red scarf, too bright for the grey light around her, was tied around her neck in a big knot that trailed down one shoulder like a cape. She wasn't leashed. No one else was around, but she didn't look lost. She looked like she was supposed to be there. That's what froze me. Not fear, not surprise, just this sick, quiet certainty that she wasn't moving because someone told her to stay. I jumped out of the car. My breath hit the cold like smoke as I crossed the street, feet crunching fresh snow. She didn't move, just turned her head slightly, watching me with those two big, too knowing brown eyes. "Hey, buddy," I said. Nothing. I crouched slowly. Her ears tilted forward, not back, no growl, no bark. Her tail didn't wag. She just stared, quiet, obedient. I could see her ribs beneath her fur. Then I noticed the clip on her collar, a plastic binder clip, the kind kids use on index cards. Ridged inside, slightly wet but still legible, was a small folded piece of paper. I pulled it free with cold, shaking fingers, and unfolded it. "Her name is Lily. She's gentle. Please take care of her." No signature, no phone number, just that. A three-line goodbye. Something caved inside my chest. "Lily," I said aloud. Her ears perked. Just a little. Then, slowly, she leaned forward and placed her paw, muddy and trembling, onto my knee. I couldn't breathe for a second. She wasn't just lost. She'd been left. And she was still trying to be brave about it. I wrapped my arms around her, felt how light she was. How wrong that was. A puppy her size should have had more weight, more softness. Instead, her body was all knees and bones and wet fur. When I pulled her close, she didn't resist. She let out a low sigh and pressed her nose into the crook of my neck like she was already home. But I wasn't ready. Not mentally. Not emotionally. I teach 5th grade, not rescue dogs. I wasn't supposed to have a puppy in my arms before sunrise on a Tuesday morning. But there she was, so I whispered, without even thinking, "You're safe now." I carried her across the street, back toward the parking lot, my coat open, scarf dragging, boots soaked. She didn't whine. She didn't squirm, just pressed into me like she was afraid I might disappear. In my trunk, I kept an old fleece blanket from an overnight field trip last year. I wrapped her in it and sat with her in the front seat for a moment before starting the engine. I could already hear the other teachers saying I'd lost it. A stray dog? On school grounds? What about allergies? Safety? But I didn't care. I'd seen her, sitting there, waiting for someone who wasn't coming. And now she was my responsibility. Inside the school, things moved fast. It was still early, only a couple staff cars in the lot. I snuck her through the side door near the gym. My classroom was cold, so I flipped the space heater on, wrapped Lily tighter in the blanket, and set her on the old corduroy chair behind my desk. She watched me, eyes locked. Every move I made, she followed. When I sat, she adjusted. When I reached for my coffee, her head tilted. When I exhaled, she did too. I leaned back, ran a hand through my hair, and just stared at her. She had this quiet presence, not fearful, not loud, just there, like she was listening even though no one had spoken. Then she did the first puppy thing I'd seen her do. She yawned, wide and tired, and curled up tighter into herself, nose against her paws. The intercom buzzed.
"Mr. Harris? Everything okay?"
"You're not at the staff check-in." It was the office secretary. "Yeah," I replied, stalling. "I'll be in late. Got something important." I'm handling. Copy that.
I called animal control just to see if anyone had reported her. Nothing.
Checked local lost pet boards. Still nothing. That's when I really started to believe it. She wasn't an accident. She wasn't misplaced. Someone had made the hardest choice they'd ever have to make. When students arrived an hour later, I'd already locked Lily in my supply closet, with the door slightly cracked, so I could hear her. But she didn't bark. She didn't whine. She just stayed close to the edge, peeking out every now and then. During math warm-up, I noticed Jamie, the quietest kid in my class, the one with the thick glasses and speech delay, glancing at the crack in the door. "Is something in there?" he asked. Before I could answer, a soft nose pushed through. Lily, curious, calm, still, wrapped in the fleece blanket like a burrito. Every kid froze. A dozen wide eyes, pencils midair. "Is that a dog?" someone whispered. I nodded slowly. "She's staying with me for now." After school, I stayed late. I didn't want to bring her to a shelter. Not after the way she watched me. Not after the way she hadn't moved from my side all day. So I opened the door to my house, still scattered with the remains of a life that used to be bigger, and she paused at the threshold, tail wagging, but low. Ears back. "Come on," I said softly, and she stepped forward. She didn't sniff around, didn't run wild like you'd expect from a puppy. She found the rug in the hallway, circled once, then lay down back to the wall, eyes on me, tail slowly tapping. That night, I didn't sleep much, not because she cried. She didn't make a sound. She just slept on the floor beside my bed, head pressed lightly against my hand, like she was afraid I might vanish if she didn't hold on. And maybe I was just as afraid that she would. The next morning, I woke up before the alarm. There was a moment, just one, where I forgot. The house was quiet, the light soft, and I moved to sit up like any other day. Then I felt her, Lily, curled against the side of the bed like she'd always been there. One paw resting lightly on my socked foot. Her breathing was slow and even. When I shifted, she didn't flinch, just opened her eyes, blinked once, and then closed them again like she knew we still had time. And maybe, for the first time in a while, so did I. In the kitchen, I poured coffee with one hand, while Lily sniffed every corner like it held buried treasure. Her steps were light, but cautious, like she was still half expecting to be told to leave. I didn't. I opened the fridge and stared for a while, then gave her a slice of leftover roast chicken. She sat for it, not trained, just respectful, like someone had loved her once, and someone had let her go. At school, I walked her in through the same side entrance as the day before. The janitor, Mr. Lopez, caught us mid-sneak. He raised one bushy grey eyebrow. "She's not a rat," I said quickly. He glanced at Lily, then back at me. "Looks better behaved than half your students." That was the end of it. By the time the bell rang, Lily had claimed the space under my desk as her own. I left the closet door open today. She padded out slowly, tail wagging low, her nose twitching at the smell of dry erase markers and peanut butter sandwiches. I half expected chaos, but my students, they sat straighter, quieter, eyes flicking to her like she was some kind of magic trick they didn't want to scare off. "Only one kid," Maya raised her hand. "Is she yours now?" I hesitated. "She's staying with me." They nodded like that made perfect sense. At recess, I stayed behind. Normally I'd be on yard duty, but the office understood when I said I needed a few minutes. I sat on the carpet with Lily. She pressed against my side while I opened my laptop to check the local lost dog listings again. Still nothing. Then a quiet knock came at the door. "Jamie." He poked his head in. "Can I sit with her?" I nodded. "Of course." He sat cross-legged, far enough away not to spook her. Lily watched him, but didn't move. For 5 full minutes, he didn't speak, just sat, breathing slow. Then, softly, "My uncle had a dog like her. He said they're good at secrets." I smiled. "She's a good listener. Can I read to her?" I handed him the book he left in class the day before. He started on page 1. He didn't stumble once. By the end of the day, word had spread. Not gossip, something quieter, almost reverent. Other teachers peeked in. The librarian offered a soft blanket. The counselor, Mrs. DeWitt, came and sat beside Lily for 10 whole minutes without saying a word. "She's got something special," she whispered when she stood. "I know." "No, I mean it. Not just sweet. She sees people." I felt that too. It wasn't just the way Lily behaved. It was what she noticed. She didn't just watch people. She read them. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, grading math quizzes, while Lily dozed under the chair. I found myself talking absent-minded, just filling the air. About my students. About the staff meeting I'd skipped. About the storage room I still hadn't cleaned out. And then, before I could stop it, I was talking about her. My wife, Emily. How the house had been too quiet, too clean. How I still checked the coffee mug she used to leave by the sink. I didn't cry, but my throat closed. Lily shifted. She didn't get up, just moved her head so it rested on the top of my foot. No pressure, no sound, just presence. The next morning, I made 2 bowls of breakfast. Mine with cereal, hers with scrambled eggs and dog kibble my neighbor had dropped off. She ate like she was still learning how. Slow, polite. Like food wasn't a guarantee yet. At school, she didn't hesitate at the door this time. She walked in like she belonged. During art period, one of the kids, Tara, accidentally dropped a tub of paint water. It splashed everywhere. Lily didn't bark. She didn't even flinch. She just lifted her head, watched the mess unfold, and blinked like, "Ah, that's all?" Half the class laughed nervously. "I think she's braver than we are," someone muttered. They were right. Later that afternoon, the school secretary called my room. "There's someone here asking about the dog." My heart kicked. I told the class to begin their free writing and jogged to the front office. It wasn't who I expected. It was a man in his 40s holding a clipboard. "Animal Services," he said. "We got a call about a stray on school property." I froze. "She's not a stray anymore." He raised an eyebrow. "Still needs to be documented." Lily trotted beside me as we returned to the classroom. The man crouched to inspect her collar, checked her teeth, then stood. "She's young," he said. 3 months, maybe 4. "No chip?" He shook his head. "Probably wasn't registered. That scarf, though, doesn't look like someone who didn't care." I said nothing. He handed me a form. "You plan on keeping her?" "I do." "Then get her microchipped, vaccinated, and officially transferred. You've got 3 weeks." "Got it." He paused. "She's lucky, you know." I looked down at her. "So am I." That night, Lily curled beside my bed again, this time with her stuffed toy, a tiny plush bear that must have fallen out of a donation box. One of the kids had left it near her earlier, and she hadn't let it go since. She lay there, chin resting on it, eyes half closed. I couldn't stop thinking about the note. Who wrote it? Where were they now? And how do you walk away from something like her? I didn't know, but I was starting to think that whoever did wanted to believe the world was still good. And maybe, by taking her in, I was becoming a small part of making that belief true. By the end of that week, Lily was no longer a visitor. She was a presence, a quiet rhythm in the halls of our school, a new heartbeat we hadn't known we were missing. Every morning, she walked in beside me, tail low but wagging, eyes bright, that little stuffed bear gently clamped in her mouth like a badge of purpose. She would place it under my desk as soon as we arrived, as if clocking in for work. And she did work. More than any teacher, more than any aide, she noticed the things we missed. It started small. During reading time, she would sit beside Jamie without being asked, her body tucked neatly along the floor by his desk. He'd lean down and read softly into her ear like she was the only one in the world who'd listen. At first, the other students teased him. Then they started lining up for turns. One day, Mrs. DeWitt invited Lily into her counseling sessions. Not because of policy, because of results. I had a girl come in today, sobbing, she told me over lunch. I didn't even speak. Lily just walked over and nudged her hand once. That's all it took. I nodded, not surprised. She's not a dog, Mrs. Dwight said, shaking her head. She's an anchor. In the teacher's lounge, I braced myself for complaints. But even the skeptical ones, the ones who didn't like furry distractions, folded quickly. She's like a pressure valve, said Mr. Clark, our 7th grade math teacher. The whole school feels quieter. That weekend, I found myself cleaning out the guest room, Emily's craft space. It still had her touch on everything. The watercolor sets, the sketchbooks stacked on the dresser, the embroidery hoop with half-finished sunflowers. I hadn't stepped foot in there since the funeral. But that day, I opened the windows, dusted the shelves, folded the blanket she'd always kept on the rocking chair. Then I laid it on the floor. Lily walked in a few minutes later, sniffed around the edges, and without prompting, curled up right in the center of the room. Like she already knew. The next day at school, she greeted every teacher by name. Not with barks or licks or tail chasing. She'd simply walk up, sit, and look at them, let them decide what came next. And they always did. A hand to the head, a whispered good morning, a sigh they didn't realize they were holding. She moved through our hallways, like she belonged to all of us. Mr. Lopez, the janitor, was the last to fall. I caught him one morning slipping a retreat near the vending machine. Thought you weren't a dog person, I teased. He grunted. I'm not. She working her magic? He paused, eyes lingering on her. She chewed, then muttered. She reminds me of my Daisy, lost her 2 years ago. Haven't thought about her in a while. He didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. That afternoon, I stood at the back of the classroom while Lily dozed on the reading rug. The kids were working quietly, pencils scratching, paper shifting, sun coming in warm through the windows. And I realized, truly realized, how much had changed, not just around me, inside. I wasn't waking up with that same dull weight on my chest. I wasn't avoiding Emily's side of the closet. I wasn't eating dinner with the TV just to drown out the silence. Lily hadn't fixed everything. She'd just reminded me what it felt like to have something to come home to again. But even with the peace she brought, something lingered beneath it. That scarf, that note, that question. Who left her? I couldn't let it go, so I started asking around. First, I spoke to Cheryl, one of the bus drivers. She'd been at that corner for years. Yeah, she said when I described the scene. I saw her all week, actually. All week, she nodded, lips tightening. Same time, same place, sitting like she was waiting. I thought she belonged to a kid nearby. She was alone. Every morning, sitting straight, tail curled around her paws, broke my heart. She wiped at the corner of her eye. I didn't know she was waiting for someone to come back. That night, I pulled up the school's attendance and transfer records. Not because I had permission, but because I needed to know. I looked for any recent withdrawals. Nothing stood out. Then I checked our own class rosters. 3 new students had transferred in over the past 2 weeks. 2 were girls. One was a quiet boy named Eli, 5th grade. Didn't talk much. Always alone at recess. I remembered seeing him near the far fence by the trees, hood up, shoulders hunched, always watching the buses, but never smiling. The next morning, I watched him more closely. He moved differently than the others. Less distracted, more cautious, like someone who was still waiting for the rug to get pulled. During lunch, I spotted him sitting on the edge of the blacktop, arms around his knees. And sticking out from the sleeve of his coat was a corner of fabric, red. My heart thudded. I walked over slowly, not wanting to scare him off. Hey, Eli, I said, crouching nearby. He looked up, startled. I gestured to the scarf. That's a nice color. He glanced down. It was hers. Silence. She used to walk with me to the bus. Every day. His voice cracked. But we had to move. The new place doesn't allow dogs. He swallowed. My mom said we had to give her up. But I couldn't take her to a shelter. I wanted someone kind to find her. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't try to fix it. I just knelt beside him and let the truth hang there between us. You did something really brave, I said finally. He wiped at his nose. Is she okay? She's more than okay, I smiled. She's changing lives, Eli, including mine. He nodded, blinking fast. Can I see her? I put a hand on his shoulder. Yeah, buddy. I think she'd really like that. Saturday morning came wrapped in cold sunlight. Milwaukee had warmed slightly overnight, just enough to melt the snow into patches of wet concrete and dirty slush. I parked near the edge of the park and looked toward the empty benches across the field. Eli was already there. He wore a puffy coat, zipped to the chin, and a red scarf knotted around his neck. His gloved hands fidgeted in his lap. Every few seconds he looked up, waiting. I glanced at the passenger seat. Lily sat upright, alert, not nervous, not confused, just focused, like she knew. You ready, girl? I asked. Her ears twitched. When I opened the door, she jumped down with practiced care, nose in the air, tail moving in slow, side-to-side arcs. We crossed the field together. No leash, no hesitation. Then she stopped, froze, 10 feet away from the bench. Eli hadn't noticed her yet. His head was down. But Lily's body lit up. Her tail went from slow to full throttle in seconds, thumping wildly behind her. Her mouth opened slightly, her tongue visible. She took one step, then two. Then she ran. A streak of fur and joy and memory across the grass. Lily, Eli shouted. As he looked up, he didn't rise, just opened his arms, and she crashed into him, like she'd never left. The moment didn't need words. Not from them. Eli wrapped his arms around her neck and buried his face into her fur. She licked at his cheek, pawed at his coat, nuzzled under his chin, as if trying to crawl inside the space his heart had left for her. They stayed like that, still, clinging, remembering. I turned away for a second, just long enough to wipe my eyes without making it a scene. When I looked back, Eli was holding the bear. The little stuffed one she always kept by her side now. She used to sleep with this, he whispered. I brought it just in case she forgot. I knelt down. She didn't forget. He held it out. Lily sniffed the bear, then took it gently in her mouth and placed it at my feet, like she was asking me to keep it safe. I nodded. I will. We sat on the bench together after that. Me, a quiet boy in a red scarf, and a dog who had somehow carried both of us back to life. She always made me feel better, Eli said softly. Even when things were bad at home, she'd just sit with me. Like she knew. She does know, I said. He smiled, tired but full. I miss her, he added, but I'm glad she's okay. She's more than okay, I said. She's helping people. Every single day. He looked down, thoughtful. I think she's meant to. I nodded. She helped me too. When it was time to go, Lily hesitated. She looked back at Eli, ears tilted, tail lowered into a soft wag. He knelt down and hugged her one last time. You were brave, he whispered into her fur. Thank you. And that was it. He stood, gave me a small wave, and walked toward the edge of the park where his mom's car waited. Lily watched until he was out of sight. Then she came and sat beside me, pressed her side against my leg, and let out a long sigh that sounded almost human. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like something had closed, not broken. That night at home, Lily rested her head on the bear again. She didn't cling to it the same way. She just kept it near. I sat in my usual chair by the window and watched her sleep. The house felt different again, lighter, like something had been lifted. The mystery was no longer a mystery. The question was no longer who left her. It was who found her. On Monday morning, Lily walked into school like she owned the place. Her gait had changed. More confident. More secure. She wasn't scanning anymore. She wasn't listening for something that wasn't coming. She knew where she belonged now. During homeroom, Jamie tugged on my sleeve. "Mr. Harris, can Lily sit by my desk while I write?" I nodded. Jamie had never asked for anything before. By the end of the hour, he'd written an entire page. Out loud, without being asked. "She makes the words feel smaller," he said. During lunch, a fourth grader tripped and scraped her knee on the sidewalk. Before any adult could react, Lily trotted over, sat beside her and rested her chin on the girl's leg until the sobs stopped. It didn't matter that she wasn't a certified therapy dog yet. She was already doing the job. That evening, as I graded science projects, I pulled up a tab on my laptop and typed, "Therapy dog certification process near me." The list was long. Temperament testing, vet paperwork, socialization classes, controlled exposure to medical equipment. It all looked overwhelming. Then I looked at Lily, curled at my feet, breathing slow and steady. She didn't need a title to do what she was already doing, but the world would ask for it anyway. "All right," I muttered, reaching for my calendar. "Let's make this official." That weekend, we started. Our first step was a local community class for obedience and social comfort. Lily wore a borrowed vest. I wore nerves. The trainer, a woman named Celia, took one look at Lily and raised a brow. "She's a shepherd." I nodded. Rare to see one this calm. "She's been through a lot," I said. Celia smirked. "Haven't we all?" The room had distractions, noises, wheelchairs, clattering metal bowls. Other dogs barked. One tried to escape its leash. Another jumped on the counter. Lily. She sat, watched, waited. Celia walked over, dropped a clipboard by Lily's paws with a loud clack. Lily blinked, didn't move. "Most dogs flinch at that," she said. "She didn't," I replied. "She will," Celia countered. "The real world finds a way." But the real world already had. And Lily, she'd survived it. Lily failed her first test. Not officially, but emotionally, for both of us. We were halfway through our second therapy dog class, standing in a brightly lit room, filled with unfamiliar sounds, wheelchairs rolling across tile, metal trays clattering, a man with Parkinson's coughing in the back. It wasn't staged. This was the real thing, a volunteer-run clinic where dogs were brought face-to-face with real-world chaos. Celia, the trainer, gave me a warning glance. "Next step is the clatter corridor." I nodded, gripping Lily's leash tighter than I needed to. She walked beside me, ears high but tail neutral, focused, until it hit. A stainless steel mop bucket tipped off a shelf. It crashed to the floor with a metallic explosion that ricocheted through the room. Lily dropped to her belly, legs splayed, head low, tail between her legs. I knelt instantly, hand on her back. "You're okay," I whispered. "You're okay." She didn't bolt, didn't bark, just froze. Her body told the story. I remember what it's like to be left. Celia waited until I coaxed Lily back to her feet. Then she walked over, crouched, and offered a gentle pat. "She's been through something," she said. "Yeah, she's not aggressive. That's good. But she's still carrying fear. She just needs time." "Then give it to her. But you need to know, one failed response like that in the real test, and she won't pass." I looked at Lily. She was watching me, ears tilted, waiting. "We're not quitting," I said. Celia smiled faintly. "Good. Because the ones who come back usually turn out stronger than the rest." That night, I sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, Lily curled beside me. The air was cold, the stars sharp and small. I thought about the mop bucket, the noise, the way she crumpled, and I hated that I didn't know why. Where had she been before the bus stop? What had she heard? What had she learned to fear? Whatever it was, I said softly. You don't have to be afraid anymore. She laid her head on my foot. Like she believed me. Monday at school started like any other, until it didn't. Halfway through second period, I got a call from the principal's office. Can you step in? The secretary asked. It's about the dog. My stomach sank. Lily followed me to the office like she always did. Calm, present, the principal, Mrs. Conley, was waiting in her chair, neat, composed, polite, the kind of person who spoke with kindness but wielded red tape like a blade. She gestured to the seat across from her. We've had a few calls, she said. Parents. One in particular. I didn't ask which. They're concerned about allergies, distractions, potential liabilities. I nodded slowly. I understand. She sighed. No one's saying she's done anything wrong. Everyone adores her. But officially, we can't allow an uncertified animal to remain on campus indefinitely. What are you saying? You have 2 weeks. Either she completes the certification and presents documentation, or I'll have to ask you to remove her from school grounds. I didn't respond right away. Lily sat beside me, tail resting still against the floor. She's not a pet, I finally said. She's helping people. Every day. I believe you, truly. But I need to follow policy. I left the office feeling like the floor had dropped from beneath us. Back in the classroom, the kids noticed something was wrong. Tara whispered. Is she leaving? I didn't answer. But I didn't have to. Kids read silence better than adults ever could. That afternoon, after dismissal, I found something on my desk. A stack of drawings. Lily, drawn in crayon and marker, and colored pencil, ears too big, tail wagging, heart shapes around her. Sticky notes paper clipped to them. She helps me feel safe. She makes school better. Don't let her go. There was one more. A folded page from Jamie, in shaky block letters. She made me talk. The next morning, Mr. Lopez intercepted me in the hallway. He didn't say anything, just handed me a brown envelope and kept walking. Inside were printed flyers. Lily stays. A photo of her sitting with a book in her paws. A quote. Sometimes the smallest presence makes the biggest difference. A dozen of them. I looked up, stunned. He was gone. By lunchtime, the posters were in every hallway. By dismissal, a petition had started, organized by Mrs. Dwight and signed by nearly every parent who had ever stepped foot in the counseling office. Still, policy was policy. We needed certification. And we needed it fast. That evening, I sat with Lily in the living room. The stuffed bear was tucked under her paw. The fireplace glowed low. I stared at the open laptop in front of me. Forms, deadlines, requirements. Okay, I said. They want official? Let's show them what that means. I filled out the application and hit submit. The next day, we doubled our efforts. Early mornings at the clinic, obstacle courses in borrowed gymnasiums, flashlight drills, fire alarms, wheelchair simulations. Every time Lily faltered, I stayed calm. Every time she improved, I celebrated like we'd won gold. She didn't get everything right, but she got better. Faster than anyone expected. By the end of the week, Celia shook my hand. She's ready, she said. And I believed her. But we still had one more test, the real one, the certification panel. 3 evaluators. 1 week from now. If she passed, we'd have the badge. If she didn't, we'd be out. Back in class, I tried to act normal, but the kids could tell something was coming. So I stood in front of the room and told them. We're going for it, I said. The real test. 1 week, the room exploded in cheers. Jamie raised his hand. What if she gets scared? Then we help her through it, I said. That's what teams do. After school, Eli showed up at the classroom door with a package. New scarf, he said. Green, soft, light, for spring. She needs a lucky one. She still has the red one. She outgrew it. He placed it gently in my hand. I believe in her, he said. Me too. I thought, more than I ever believed in anything. The day of the test arrived grey and quiet. No snow, no sun, just the flat kind of Milwaukee sky that makes you question whether morning ever really began. Lily stood beside me at the clinic entrance, ears alert, her new green scarf neatly tied around her neck. Eli had insisted on doing the knot himself. It was a little crooked. We left it that way. I adjusted her vest, trying to look calm. "You ready?" I asked. She blinked up at me once. That was enough. Inside, the building smelled like bleach, coffee and damp carpet. The waiting area was already crowded. Dogs of every shape and color, labs, Goldens, one anxious-looking beagle in a stroller. Handlers paced, dogs barked. A few owners whispered last-minute pep talks like this was a spelling bee. I took a seat in the back corner with Lily curled against my legs. She didn't fidget. She didn't whine. She just watched. When the volunteer called our names, I stood slowly, knees stiff. "Team Harris and Lily," she said. "Team." That word stuck. We walked through the double doors into the testing hall. 3 evaluators sat behind a long table. 2 women, 1 man, clipboards and pens in hand. No smiles. No small talk. One of them nodded. "You may begin." The first test was obedience. Sit, stay, down, leave it. Lily moved like she'd been rehearsing in her sleep. Even when a stranger walked in holding a hot dog dangling from a stick, she didn't flinch. Just looked at me, waiting. Next came environmental stimulation. The evaluators dropped books, slammed a door, rolled a wheelchair right past her tail. Lily sat still, eyes wide, body tense, but still. They led us through a hallway with flashing lights and looping sirens from a speaker in the ceiling. I felt the vibration in my chest. Lily walked in step beside me. Not a single growl, not a pause. At the end, they had us enter a simulated hospital room, where a volunteer in a robe pretended to cry softly in bed. Lily looked at me. Then she approached the edge of the bed. She rested her chin gently on the woman's leg. The room went still. One of the evaluators put down her pen and just watched. When we finished, they thanked me politely and told me results would be mailed within 48 hours. I shook their hands. Lily wagged her tail. Then we walked outside into the wind. We didn't talk much that night. She curled up on the couch, with the bear tucked against her chest. I made soup. Didn't eat half of it. The house felt too still. But it wasn't dread. It was hope. So big it hurt to hold. 2 days later, I found the envelope in my mailbox. White, plain, from the certification board. I didn't open it in the kitchen. I didn't open it at all. I waited until Lily was sitting in front of me, ears forward, paws planted, tail slowly sweeping the floor. "You ready?" I asked. She blinked. I opened it. Inside was a simple form. Approved. Beneath it, a badge, blue background, white lettering. One name printed across the top. Lily, certified therapy dog. I clipped it to her vest. She wagged her tail once, then laid her head against my knee like she knew it mattered. When I walked into the school the next morning, Mrs. Connolly was waiting in the office. I didn't say a word, just handed her the form. She read it, nodded once. "Congratulations," she said. "You both earned it." The news spread fast. Before lunchtime, kids were walking the hallways with homemade "Congrats, Lily" signs. Someone taped a printed badge outside my door. Jamie wore a paper version of it on his backpack. Mr. Lopez passed me in the hallway and said, "Told you she'd do it." At recess, Lily trotted across the playground wearing her vest and badge. One of the kindergartners saluted her like a soldier. She returned the gesture by licking his mitten. That afternoon, I brought her to the counseling wing for her first visit as an official therapy dog. No more exceptions, no more borrowed time. She was here, legitimately. The kids didn't swarm her. They didn't shout or pull, or overwhelm. They just let her be. And she walked between them like she always had. calm, grounded, soft. She sat beside a boy who hadn't smiled in 3 days. He pet her head once, then rested his cheek against her side. It was like someone lit a candle in the room. Small, quiet, brighter than you'd expect. The school counselor leaned over and whispered, "You know, I think she knows who needs her most, before they even do." "I know." She paused. "You realize you've both changed this place, right?" I looked at Lily. She was lying down, in the reading nook now, eyes closed, head tilted back. I thought about how she had once sat, soaked and shaking, at a bus stop in the snow, waiting for someone she trusted to come back. And now kids waited for her. Later that week, I passed the bulletin board outside the principal's office. Someone had pinned up a photo of Lily. Beneath it, handwritten in a student's print, she didn't just find a home, she made one. The children's hospital smelled like hand sanitizer and orange juice. It wasn't our first time there. Lily had done a brief orientation visit with me the week before, but this was different. This was the real thing. Official, scheduled, approved. The front desk nurse gave us both stickers. Lily's said visitor, mine said handler. "Third floor," the nurse said, smiling as she handed me a printed list. "They've been waiting for her." We took the elevator up. Lily sat politely the whole way, tail curled beside her like a comma. When the doors opened, the hallway greeted us in soft pastels, murals of clouds, cartoon giraffes, handprints stamped on the wall in every color. But the air was heavy. Even through the paint and the sparkle, there was a stillness that hush you only find in places where pain has made itself at home. The pediatric wing's charge nurse met us at the desk. "Room 307 first," she said quietly. "He's been closed off. Just see what happens." Lily walked beside me down the corridor, her tags clicking softly with every step. As we reached the door, I hesitated. Inside was a boy. Maybe 7, pale, thin. A knit cap covered what little hair he had left. He faced the window, IV hanging like a limp arm at his side. His mother sat nearby, motionless. I knocked gently. No response. So I stepped in. And Lily, she did what Lily always did. She didn't bark. She didn't approach too fast. She simply walked in, settled by the foot of the bed, and lay down close enough to be seen, far enough not to intrude. The boy didn't move. Then, slowly, his fingers twitched. One hand crept over the edge of the blanket. Lily didn't budge. She just waited. His fingers found her ear. And then, almost inaudibly, "Hi!" His mother gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. I looked over. Tears were already falling. We stayed for 20 minutes. Lily didn't move once. When we left, the nurse caught my arm outside the room. That was the first word he's spoken in 4 days. From there, it only grew. Each visit, Lily met new faces, some guarded, some curious, some clinging to parents like they might float away. She learned how to pace herself, who needed touch, who needed stillness, when to curl against someone and when to simply sit in the doorway and wait. In room 312, a girl with burns along her arms asked if Lily could wear her headband. It was pink with glitter stars. Lily wore it the whole visit. In room 319, a boy recovering from a long surgery whispered that Lily reminded him of his grandma's dog. He talked for 15 minutes, straight after that. Sometimes, Lily was a moment of light. Sometimes, she was the only silence that didn't hurt. Word spread quickly. Staff started requesting specific visits. Parents peeked around corners just to get a glimpse of her. I lost count of how many kids whispered secrets into her fur like she was made of magic. But it wasn't magic. It was trust. Lily gave them something the rest of us couldn't. Presence without expectation. No questions. No advice. No be brave speeches. Just her steady body and warm eyes saying, "I'm here. I see you." That's enough. One afternoon, after a long series of visits, we stopped by the hospital garden. It was enclosed, walls of glass on every side, but the sun still poured in like blessing. A few kids were there with volunteers, painting ceramic pots or watching birds on the feeders. Lily lay near the bench, tongue out, belly rising and falling with deep, satisfied breaths. A volunteer approached me, middle-aged, quiet, holding a clipboard. "She's changed the energy in here," she said. I smiled. "She's always been like this." "No," the woman said gently. "She's becoming something even more." Back at home that evening, I fed Lily early. She ate with slow, thoughtful bites, then wandered to her blanket and dropped beside the bear. I sat on the floor next to her. "Today was good," I said. She gave a soft grunt. One of her ears flopped back slightly. I chuckled. "You're exhausted." She didn't move. "Me too." The next day, we returned to the hospital. Same hallway, same front desk smiles. But today, there was someone new. The nurse pulled me aside. "Room 308, she whispered. "A Mamira, 9 years old. Newly admitted, refuses visitors. Won't speak. Do you want us to try?" She looked over my shoulder, eyes on Lily. "I want her to try." The room was dim, no lights on except the faint green glow of the monitor screen. A girl lay curled on her side, her back to the door, IV in one arm. Bald, thin, the blankets around her barely moved. I paused. Lily didn't. She stepped inside, didn't approach the bed, just lay down in the corner. Quiet, visible. After a minute, the girl shifted. Then, "Is she real?" Her voice was thin, cracked. I nodded. "She is. She looks like the dog from my dreams." Lily stood, took 3 slow steps forward, then lowered herself beside the bed, just close enough for her paws to touch the floor under the rail. The girl reached a hand toward her. It hovered, then dropped gently onto Lily's head. The girl smiled, tiny, faint, but real. For the rest of the visit, Lily didn't move. The girl didn't either. Sometimes healing doesn't look like recovery. It looks like silence you don't have to escape. That night, I called Eli. I told him everything. He didn't say much, just listened. Before we hung up, he said, "I knew she was meant for something bigger." I agreed. Then I looked at Lily, sleeping soundly on her blanket, head on her bare, ears twitching, a small, steady force, not chasing purpose, just living it. The hospital visits became a rhythm, twice a week, every week. It wasn't a job to Lily. It was just where she went, what she did, like kids go to school, like trees bend toward the light. She moved through the pediatric wing, like she belonged to it. And maybe she did. One boy had refused treatment for days, 7 years old. Aggressive leukemia, terrified of needles and strangers alike. His mother had tried everything. Nothing worked. Until Lily entered the room. She didn't sit at the foot of the bed. She didn't nudge his hand. She simply laid down on the floor beside his IV pole and closed her eyes. 10 minutes later, his hand slipped off the edge of the bed, rested lightly on her back. Then he whispered, "Okay, I'm ready." No one asked what he meant. The nurse just called for the tech team, eyes already glassy. Moments like that began stacking up, one by one, quiet as snow. A girl battling cystic fibrosis started drawing again because Lily sat with her every art session. A teen recovering from a suicide attempt began speaking only when Lily entered the room. Low, scratchy sentences filled with questions like, "Do you think she dreams?" A 6-year-old with trauma from foster care whispered into Lily's ear, "I trust you more than grown-ups." She didn't perform tricks. She didn't respond to commands unless she chose to. But she listened better than any of us. Outside of the hospital, Lily's legend began to grow. It wasn't viral. It wasn't loud. It was something slower. Word of mouth. A school librarian who invited her to weekly read-alouds. A retired nurse who asked if Lily could visit the senior center on weekends. Even the corner coffee shop near the school put up a small sign on their chalkboard. Lily's friends drink free hot chocolate. One afternoon, I brought her to a group home for teenagers dealing with trauma. The staff warned me beforehand. Tough crowd, one said. You'll be lucky if they make eye contact. We walked into the rec room, quietly. Lily didn't wait for a command. She scanned the room, found the farthest corner, and walked toward it. A boy in a black hoodie sat there, arms wrapped around knees, head down. She didn't nudge. She didn't even sit right beside him. She curled up just near his foot and closed her eyes. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then his hand moved. Barely. Just enough to rest on her side. He didn't say anything. But when we left an hour later, the staff stared at us like they'd seen a ghost. That's the most he's touched anything in weeks, one whispered. Later, as we walked back to the car, I looked down at her and said, "You don't ask for anything." She didn't respond. Of course not. But she leaned against my leg just enough for me to feel her weight. Another day, we visited the park after a long shift. It had rained earlier, just enough to leave the grass damp and the sky clean. Lily sniffed a trail of squirrels before settling by a bench where I sipped coffee. An older man sat 2 benches down, holding a folded photo in both hands. His eyes were wet. He noticed Lily watching him. She stood, walked over, sat beside him. The man looked down slowly. "She looks just like my Daisy," he whispered. "Lost her 2 months ago." He didn't move to pet her, just stared at her, like she was a message or a memory. After a long silence, he reached out. Lily leaned into his hand. That was all it took. When we got home that evening, I found a small envelope taped to our front door. Inside was a thank you card. No signature, just a photo printed on cheap paper. Lily sitting in the reading corner at school, a child tucked beside her with a book on their lap. On the back, "She's helping more than you know." Spring came late that year. The snow melted reluctantly, revealing patches of green beneath the slush. Birdsong returned to the schoolyard. Kids switched from boots to sneakers. Sunlight finally stayed past dismissal. And Lily bloomed with it. Her coat grew thicker. Her steps had more bounce. She moved through the school like she'd grown roots there. One Thursday afternoon, I passed the open doors of the art room. Inside, Jamie was painting a canvas, not a worksheet, not a crayon-drawn lily. A real canvas, thick with color. He'd painted a field. One small figure. One dog. The caption, "She didn't find me. I found her when I was quiet enough." I stood there for a long time, not because it was perfect, but because it was true. That weekend, I took Lily on a trail hike just outside the city. I needed air. She needed new smells. Halfway through the walk, we stopped near a clearing filled with wildflowers just beginning to push through the soil. I sat on a stump. She lay at my feet. For a long time, I didn't think. I just was. And so was she. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just healing others. She was returning something to everyone she met. A thread they didn't know they'd lost. A thread I hadn't known I'd lost, either. Hope. That night, I stood at the window and looked out at the street. No snow, no shadows, just a steady breeze. And Lily asleep beside the couch, paw still touching that old stuffed bear like it was the first gift she ever received. Maybe it was. Maybe it still is. Room 308 had become routine, not in the sense that it was ordinary. Nothing about Amamira was, but Lily knew the route, knew the room, knew the rhythm. 3 steps inside the door. Pause. Scan. Wait for permission. Every day the girl smiled a little sooner. Every day her hand reached out a little faster. Some days they didn't do much. Amamira didn't always have energy to talk. Some days Lily would simply rest her chin on the bed's edge, and they would breathe together. Quiet, steady, matching rhythms. When the pain was bad, the nurses said she would reach for Lily's ear. just to hold on, one whispered. It's the only thing that calms her. I watched it happen once. During a particularly rough morning, nausea, tremors, dark circles under her eyes. Amamira couldn't speak. She didn't even lift her head. But her fingers reached over the side of the bed, shaking, searching. Lily stood, walked over, and placed her head exactly where they would meet. Amamira's hand found her ear, clutched gently, and the trembling slowed. One day, Amamira asked, "Does Lily have dreams?" "I think so," I said. "Good dreams?" I nodded. The kind that feel like remembering. Spring deepened. The trees outside the hospital window turned green. Children returned to the garden. Lily's schedule filled quickly. Teachers, therapists, volunteers. They all wanted a few minutes with her. But room 308 always came first. On a Wednesday afternoon, the nurse at the desk gave me a small nod as I checked in. "She's doing better today," she said. "The doctor said she may be strong enough to go home soon." That single sentence caught me off guard. Amamira had become part of the hospital, a fixture in the way quiet things often are, a gentle presence in the middle of chaos. The idea of her leaving hadn't occurred to me. When we stepped into her room, she was sitting up, really up, pillows propped, hairless head uncovered, proud and unashamed. "You got taller," I said. She grinned weakly. "I think it's the bed." Lily trotted to her side and hopped her front paws onto the mattress, something she never did without permission. Amamira laughed, a real laugh, thin but bright. "She can feel it too," she said. "What's that?" "That I'm almost not sick anymore." We stayed longer than usual that day. There was no treatment scheduled, no meds, just sunlight through the window, and two soft creatures curled beside one another. Girl and dog, both having survived things they never should have had to face. I sat quietly, reading from a picture book she chose. Halfway through, Amamira interrupted me. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." If Lily had a fear, like if she was really scared of something, would she still show up? I thought for a moment. "Yes," I said, "because she's brave, and brave doesn't mean unafraid. It means you show up even when you are." Amamira nodded slowly, then leaned her head against Lily's shoulder. "She's my brave." That Friday, when we arrived, the room was different. No machines, no wires, no hospital smell. A nurse met us at the door, smiling with tears in her eyes. "She's going home today," she whispered. We entered quietly. Amamira was dressed real clothes, soft leggings, sneakers, a jacket that hung loose on her small frame. Her mom stood beside her, holding a backpack. Lily approached first. Amamira knelt, arms open. Lily stepped into her, slow, uncertain. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. After a long, quiet embrace, Amamira pulled something from her pocket. A small ribbon, pale yellow, frayed at the end. "I wore this in my hair before the chemo," she said. "I want Lily to have it." She tied it to Lily's vest. It wasn't perfect. It drooped to the side, but it stayed. We walked with her to the elevator. Lily paced beside her wheelchair the whole way. When the doors opened, Amamira looked up at me. "Thank you," she said, "for bringing her." I shook my head. She brought me too. Then Lily leaned forward and placed her paw on the footrest of the chair, like she was saying goodbye. Like she understood. The elevator closed, and Lily just stood there, staring at the steel doors. She didn't move for nearly a full minute. Then she turned, walked back to me, and pressed her head against my leg with a weight that said, "I'll carry this too." We didn't speak much that night. Back at home, I made dinner while Lily lay beneath the kitchen table. The yellow ribbon still hung from her vest. Later, I lit a candle and sat on the porch. Lily joined me, curling at my feet. We watched the stars come out, slow and steady. She rested her head on my foot. I whispered, "You're the bravest one of us all." She didn't respond. She didn't need to. Over the weekend, I found myself thinking about Lily's note again. Her name is Lily. She's gentle. Please take care of her. At the time, it had broken my heart. Now, now it felt like a gift, not a desperate plea, but a message sent forward in hope. Please take care of her. And we did. But more than that, she took care of us. I still drive past the bus stop. Not every day. Not deliberately. But when I do, I slow down. Not to look for something. There's nothing to find. But to remember. That first morning. The snow. The stillness. The red scarf that glowed like a signal flare in the cold. The dog who didn't flinch, didn't bark, didn't run. Just waited. Because someone told her to. Now when I pass that corner, it's spring. The sidewalk is dry. There's a crack in the curb where weeds have begun to push through. The bench has been repainted blue instead of grey. And the memory lives there. Still, not sharp anymore. Not heavy, but real. Like the beginning of a song you almost forgot you knew. It's been months since Amamira went home. Her mom sends updates. Little things. A drawing she made of Lily. A photo of her standing next to a tree she swore looked like it's dancing. A text that simply said, "She still talks about Lily like she's her angel." Maybe she is. Lily keeps the ribbon. I tied it more securely this time. It hangs from her vest now beside the therapy badge. Whenever she walks into a room, it flutters slightly with each step, like it's catching the breath of everyone who sees her. At school, things have only grown. Lily is part of the curriculum now, literally. She has a weekly reading circle in the library. She's featured in a hallway mural titled "Comfort Without Words." She even has a page on the school website, and not once has she misjudged a person. One morning in late April, I found a green scarf folded neatly on my desk. No note, but I didn't need one. Eli showed up after lunch, standing in the doorway, hands in his hoodie pocket, backpack half-zipped. "Was it the right color?" he asked. "It's perfect," I said. Lily padded over to him and nosed his leg. He knelt down. She leaned into his chest, tail sweeping slowly behind her. They didn't speak. Didn't need to. Some bonds don't need rebuilding. They just wait. We replaced the red scarf that afternoon. The green one felt like a new chapter. It was softer, lighter, but still tied the same way, crooked, like always. We left it that way. That weekend, the school hosted a community day. Open doors, food trucks, live music from a local band that half the staff pretended not to know was made up of former students. There were craft stations, face painting, a silent auction. But one area drew more people than any other. A sign that read, "Come meet Lily, certified therapy dog." We didn't set up anything fancy. Just a table, some photos, a laminated poster showing her visits to the hospital and school, a jar labeled, "If Lily helped you, tell us." By the end of the day, it was full of handwritten notes, crayon drawings, folded scraps of notebook paper, a torn piece of receipt with just 3 words. "She saved me." At sunset, I found Lily under the shade of a tree, resting with 3 kids curled up around her. One had her head on Lily's belly, another held her paw, the third just lay beside her, staring at the sky. I didn't interrupt, didn't pose for a photo. Just let the moment be. That night, I carried the jar home and read every note. Some made me smile. Some made me ache. All made me grateful. Later, as I got ready for bed, I found Lily on the rug beside my chair, her bear tucked beneath her chin, the green scarf slightly askew. I sat beside her, ran my fingers through her fur. "I wish I could tell the person who left you that day," I said, "what you became." She opened one eye, listened, "And I wish I could tell them they didn't give up on you." She blinked once. "They gave you a chance." That sentence stayed with me for weeks. It whispered itself in the quiet moments. In the elevator, after hospital visits. In the classroom when Jamie read his first full book aloud. In the group home when a boy asked if Lily could visit just one more time. In the hospital hallway when a nurse said, "We schedule around her now." In the mirror, when I looked at myself and realized I was finally smiling without checking for the grief underneath it. One evening, I got a call from the local news. They were doing a piece on therapy animals and had heard about the dog from the school. We agreed to an interview. Nothing dramatic, just a few sound bites. A reporter asked, "What makes Lily special?" I thought for a moment. "She never asks anyone to change," I said. "She just meets them where they are." The segment aired a week later. They used footage from the school and hospital, clips of Lily curled up next to kids, slow pans of her badge, the ribbon, the scarf. Eli agreed to be part of it. He stood beside her, quiet and proud. When asked what he thought happened that day at the bus stop, he said, "I didn't give her up. I gave her a chance." That line stuck. The anchor repeated it at the end. It spread online. Quietly, just like Lily. Now sometimes when we walk downtown, people wave. Lily doesn't bask in it. She just wags her tail, keeps moving, still working, still reading rooms the way most people read faces, still offering calm in places that forgot what calm felt like. Sometimes people ask if she's mine. I never know how to answer that. She stays with me. She comes home to me. But she's not mine. She's everyone's. The other day, Lily walked into the hospital waiting room and a toddler toddled over on unsure feet, arms outstretched. Lily didn't brace. She didn't duck. She leaned in. Let the child wrap their arms around her neck, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because for her, it is. I don't think she knows how much she's changed my life, how she filled a house that used to echo with absence, how she reminded me that grief isn't something you fix. It's something you carry with kindness. And when someone or something helps you carry it, you start to live again. She never asked for a second chance. She just waited for it. And when it came, she turned it into something bigger than anyone ever expected. Sometimes I wonder what became of the person who left her. The one who wrote those 9 words on a slip of paper, wrapped a red scarf around a tiny neck, and placed her at a bus stop in the snow. Did they drive away in silence? Did they cry the whole way home? Did they check the news, hoping for a story? Or maybe they simply whispered a prayer to anyone, anything that someone would show up, not to fix things, just to take the next step. I hope, wherever they are, they know they didn't fail her. They gave her a chance that grew into a purpose, a presence, a soft, 4-legged kind of grace. Lily still goes to the hospital, still visits the school, still curls up beside kids who don't know how to speak their pain yet, still knows when someone needs space, still senses when someone needs something steady to lean on. She's older now, not much, but I can see it in her eyes, the way they've deepened, the way they rest a little longer on people, as if she's memorizing them. The green scarf is a little faded now. The bear is patched in one corner with navy blue thread from a student who insisted it be fixed just right. The ribbon from Amamira is frayed, but she still wears it proudly. It flutters in the breeze like a signal to the world. This dog has carried more than you know. Our story doesn't end in some dramatic twist. No viral video, no medal or monument, just a quiet truth. Sometimes the world gives up on someone, and sometimes one small soul says, "Not yet." Every now and then, a new student comes to our school. Shy, tense, watchful. Lily always finds them first. She sits nearby, waits. No pressure, no tricks, just presence. And they always notice. Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes a day. But always, eventually they inch closer, because she has that way about her, of making people feel safe before they even know they needed to. There's a bench near the front of the school now, small, wooden, sturdy. The plaque reads, her name was Lily. She was gentle. She stayed. On weekends, I still take her past the bus stop. She doesn't look for anything anymore. She just walks with me. Calm. Sure. Whole. We don't talk about the beginning much now, but we carry it. In the scarf. In the ribbon. In the bear. In the way she leans into people who forgot how to believe in kindness. And in the way they lean back. She's not just a dog anymore. She's a story. A truth. A reminder that healing doesn't always arrive in big moments. Sometimes it waits in the snow, with a note on its collar and a little hope left in its heart.